A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 268. In the previous episode, Han Li stepped into a deadly trap when a black-robed spell warrior unleashed a grotesque ritual. What seemed like a simple duel quickly twisted into horror as the man's body exploded into blood mist, staining the entire barrier crimson. Before Han Li could break free, the mist merged into a powerful blood shield, sealing him and 9 other cultivators inside. Outside, Master Sunreach and the others realized too late that the Moulan had planned this from the start, a grand strategy meant to isolate 10 of Heavenly South's strongest. At the end of the previous episode, with the blood barrier unbroken and the enemy preparing for all-out war, the 3 great cultivators braced themselves for a confrontation against the mysterious Moulan divine sages. What will happen next? Stay tuned. And the story continues. With Devil Concord's challenge ringing through the air, the shriveled old man frowned. But he soon spoke with a tranquil tone. We will have the fight with the 3 great Heavenly South cultivators sooner or later. From this moment, the tension that had been simmering between the 2 armies erupted into full motion, setting the stage for a massive confrontation both in the skies and across the battlefield below. As the shriveled old man explained that he could not leave his command post, he assigned Sect Master Fang to intercept one of the 3 incoming Heavenly South cultivators. The black-robed man accepted with icy confidence. A pulse of black energy rose from his body as he ascended into the sky, followed closely by his 2 companions in silver and red light. Their opponents gave chase immediately, and the 6 late-Nascent soul-level cultivators vanished into the clouds. Moments later, the heavens above twisted in color. Fire-red radiance shifted into pitch-black skies, and thunderous booms rippled outward as their battle began. Blinding flashes momentarily illuminated the cloud layers, each one marking the clash of devastating techniques. Below them, the confrontation between the massive cultivator army and the countless spell warriors unfolded in a very different manner. This was not a duel of individuals but an organized war between 2 disciplined forces. Both sides began by chanting long waves of incantations, raising enormous defensive formations that enveloped their main troops. The cultivators successfully activated their barrier first, not due to superior skill, but because many of their formation arrays were powered by prepared formation tools. With this advantage secured, the commander of the Heavenly South Army, Long Han, wasted no time. He issued the command for the first long-range assault. Immediately, rare treasures that had been brought specifically for this large-scale battle were brought forward. Among them was the colossal gong Han Li had noticed earlier. Floating effortlessly in the air, the platform supporting the gong hovered above the cultivator ranks. The huge man stationed beside it stood still with his eyes closed, gripping an iron hammer as tall as he was. Nearby, 2 men hoisted a towering triangular banner embroidered with a lifelike black flood dragon, while 9 red-clothed young women arranged themselves in a mysterious floating formation. 3 elderly cultivators, each carrying a massive gourd on his back, took their positions at the very front. At Long Han's signal, all these rare treasures erupted into action. The huge man beside the bronze gong suddenly opened his eyes. Radiating bright yellow light, he swung his hammer fiercely, striking the gong with earth-shaking force. For an instant, dazzling golden light burst forth before dissolving into countless sparkling fragments. These fragments shot forward like waves of starlight but transformed into clouds of golden mist only moments later, continuing their rush toward the enemy lines. At the same time, the cultivators beneath the triangular black banner whipped it violently, summoning a colossal black flood dragon. It tore through the air, trailing black and azure smoke and generating powerful gales that hurled sand and stone into the air, obscuring the battlefield around it. The red-clothed young women activated the treasure on their tray. 9 fiery copper mirrors spun into the air, unleashing swarming firebirds the size of fists. Their flames screeched through the sky as they shot toward the spell warriors like volleys of burning arrows. Meanwhile, the 3 gourd-carrying elders opened their containers, releasing a vast tide of icy white spiritual frost. The cold surged forward in a chilling wave, freezing everything in its path and expanding rapidly toward the enemy barrier. All of these assaults struck just as the spell warriors managed to raise their own defensive formation. Phantoms of golden mist, black storm winds, raging firebirds, and piercing frost collided violently with the spell warrior barrier. It trembled under the pressure. Glowing with strain, Long Han immediately launched the second wave of attacks even before the first wave had finished. Bright beams of multicolored light and surges of devil fire shot outward from the cultivator ranks, intensifying the pressure against the embattled spell warriors. The shriveled old man's expression darkened. He had not expected the spell techniques to activate so slowly, leaving their defenses vulnerable. Under such sustained and overwhelming attacks, the spell warriors could neither advance nor retreat. Not even a nascent soul cultivator would dare to withstand these attacks without powerful formation protection. Seeing no alternative, he turned to the black-robed Madame Lu and requested the release of her sect's giant beasts. With a casual smile, she granted permission. Moments later, thunderous roars shook the battlefield as more than 10 enormous armored beasts emerged. Their massive bodies charged forward, absorbing the cultivators' attacks with sheer brute endurance before launching themselves toward the front line. The cultivators quickly shifted part of their attacks toward the beasts, while others continued hammering the spell warrior barrier. Taking advantage of this distraction, the high-level spell warriors flew into the air and released dozens of colored beads. Each bead transformed in a unique way. Some burrowed underground, others dissolved into light, and some erupted into water, flames, or dazzling illumination. Within moments, these energies condensed into giant demon beasts, towering firewolves, enormous earth pythons, icy blue tortoises, and shimmering azure rocks. Though these summoned beasts had powerful auras, they were unstable, often dissolving into spiritual light after a single heavy strike. But the spell warriors did not hesitate. They simply tossed out more beads and summoned another wave. This forced the cultivators to split their focus again, diverting more attacks toward the incoming beasts. Long Han frowned deeply, momentarily unsure whether to commit more of their forces or maintain suppression of the spell warrior barrier. Sensing the cultivators' hesitation, the shriveled old man immediately ordered his spell warriors to initiate their grand spell technique assault. Chanting erupted across the spell warrior ranks, and multicolored spiritual radiance filled the air. Giant fireballs 3 meters wide and massive icicles formed out of thin air, rising into the sky like weapons of a natural disaster. Recognizing the scale of the threat, Long Han issued an emergency order. The cultivators operating the rare treasures withdrew instantly, regrouping inside their defensive barrier. At the same time, over 1,000 cultivators surged upward, each holding a large formation flag. They assembled into an enormous spell formation with astonishing speed. The formation flags flew into the air, spreading out and merging into a thick rainbow-colored protective barrier above the entire army just as hundreds of enormous fireballs and giant icicles crashed down. The battlefield became engulfed in flames and freezing mist. The ground trembled under the force of these massive impacts. Meanwhile, the first wave of enemy beasts had nearly reached the cultivator lines. Only 8 of the giant armored beasts remained, their bodies battered but still charging forward with unstoppable momentum. The summoned demon beasts were nearly erased, yet each time they dissolved, more were created to take their place. However, the demon beasts were completely fearless in the face of the vast cultivator army and continued their overbearing charge. In this episode, we saw the full-scale battle between the Heavenly South cultivators and the Moulan spell warriors finally erupt, while the late-Nascent soul experts clashed in the skies with earth-shaking force. The armies below unleashed their long-range treasures, massive spell formations, and summoned beasts. The cultivators struck first, overwhelming the Moulan barrier with waves of golden mist, firebirds, icy frost, and the power of rare artifacts. But the Moulan forces quickly retaliated with giant armored beasts and countless summoned demon beasts crafted from spiritual pellets, forcing the cultivators to divert their attacks. When the Moulan began their overwhelming spell technique assault, Long Han had no choice but to order a massive defensive formation to protect the entire army. By the end of the episode, both sides were fully committed, and the battlefield had become a chaotic storm of fire, ice, wind, and spiritual force. What happens next? Stay tuned for the next episode of Immortal's Journey to Immortality. If you enjoyed this episode or found it interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can receive notifications about the latest episodes in Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.